So yesterday, ArenaNet gave a live stream about the upcoming World vs. World changes. Special thanks of course to Roy and Cecil for talking about those updates. I'm Summer and today I will give you a quick update and my opinion on the updates that are coming with the next patch. So let's jump right in. So I took some screenshots of the live stream and I will show it on screen all the time when I'm talking about it. And I will just give you the quick rundown. Some of them are quite big changes, but most of them are some adjustments. So let's talk about scoring updates at first. So they change how the victory points are distributed about the match depending on the current time. This is made so that you can't do really well in the night when one server is not that good and the others are maybe better or something, so that it is a little bit unevenly distributed. So that the prime time, if you succeed and win the skirmish in this time, you will get way more points than, for example, in the night time. This is depending on the region. You can see it, they changed it. And they had this plan before, but it had some issue implementing it, so now it's apparently working. You can take a look at it and stop the video, pause the video if you want to have a detailed look. But now to the next one. So they will do some general changes. And they are actually rather cool. So they will introduce Demolisher stats into PvE and therefore also World vs. World. Demolisher stats give you major power and precision boost, while giving you also minor toughness and ferocity boost. So they're a little bit like Marauder Dragons and those stats, but they give you toughness instead. So it's really cool. And they existed in PvP, and some builds actually used it, and I think in World vs. World they can also get some usage, especially in roaming builds. But be aware, it's only on stat selectable gear, so you have to have stat selectable gear laying around. But I think in World vs. World you actually can buy exotic stat selectable gear, so it should be there as well. And it's really cool, it's a core stat, so every single piece of core gear that you can stat select is actually affected by this change. Really cool. And then they will do some replacements of the weekly tower and weekly keep defense achievements. So there will be now one achievement, Objective Defender, and the first one gives you, after 5 defenses, either tower, keep or castle. And if you got this, it will give you a second achievement that you can unlock for 10. So it will, the whole number of achievements for the weekly stays the same, but it will give you a little bit more leeway. So that's it for the general changes. Really nice, but nothing crazy, I would say. And we have some gameplay updates. They changed a little bit of the arrow card. That's not that crazy, I would say. And they changed the Dolyak respawn timers, so they are now always the same, not depending on if it was a successful or not successful as well, which is changing the balance quite heavily, how long it takes to upgrade towers, camps and castles. The keeps of course as well, but the keeps will not be adjusted, they will stay the same. All others will, the camp and the tower will receive the downgrades, so you don't need that many Dolyaks anymore, but the castle will receive upgrades instead, so you need more Dolyaks to get in there. It's interesting, but they wanted to have the castle, so the Stonemist Castle in Eternal Battlegrounds, to have to be less likely to be upgraded, or that you need way more effort to do this. You can have different opinions on that, but I think that's just a change and it might affect the game, yes, but it's good that they change stuff. It should not always be the same. And then we have Healing Mist tactics, so it's just healed you before, now the cooldown is lower and will also grant protection. I think that's not a big game changer, but it's a nice thing to have, I guess. And then they will actually adjust tower and keep lords to have the health increased, and it's actually quite a big increase for tower lords especially, so that you can defend them more easily. I think that's okay. I think it might lead to some really long-lasting defense events, which are not bad, especially with the upcoming changes that we talk about in a minute. They will also add sentry turrets, which is really interesting. I did not expect that. They apparently also are in Edge of the Mist, but they are only one time available now, and they don't stay on map change, I think. So it's like you can, as a trap, you can buy them and you can add them. You can have one at a time on a map, and it will work like a sentry a little bit, so it will show enemy players that walk in the range of this thing, which I don't know how big it is, and then it will show it on map for every player, I guess, on your team. Quite nice and interesting thing to have. I'm not sure how effective it will be if the range is too small or if it doesn't reveal stealth players. I'm not sure if it's used, but it can be used in chokes, I guess. And now to the change I talked about before. With the longer defense events, because the lords have higher health, we have a way easier time to get the bronze participation for the repeal event, which is good because oftentimes we were defending an objective for minutes, and because you didn't kill an enemy, you did not get participation for it, because that was the only way you get it. Now it's lowered, you don't need that many anymore, and it also is enough to just damage the players. You don't have to kill them, and it's also okay if you damage siege. Apparently the damage that you need to do is so low that even supports can do that, which is really cool. I think that's a really nice thing to do, because World vs. World give you rewards for playing the game mode, not for doing special tasks that you have to know what they are to give rewards. I think that's not good. So I hope this is helping, and especially for cool siege events that last for hours, that can be really rewarding. I think that's a really good change. And now we're already at the last change, which is obviously the biggest one. So they overhaul the siege system. What does that mean? That means they will replace basic and superior siege and also the guild siege with only one thing, which is the same value of the guild siege, but will now be named only siege. You can now change the basic and the superior siege into the guild siege by double clicking them or going to a vendor to bulk exchange them. The golems will be a little bit different, but most of the time all of the sieges are exactly the same like the guild siege. And really interesting, you can now exchange them. So you can, if you have a stack of, for example, listers which are not used that much, you can exchange them for 200 flame, for 200 golems or something. And the important part here is that it costs a little bit of gold, and you lose, of course, 50 blueprints. But in the process, you get the more valuable siege. That should be a balancing thing, so that you get a little bit more value of all siege types, so that they are more balanced out at least. And what's so very important is that they, what I never expected them to do, add an infinite siege gizmo, 7 actually, for every single type of siege. There's 1 now after the patch, which will be a huge collection or a medium collection, but it will be a huge siege thing. You need a lot of siege to buy for this, and then you have 1, like you can see here, ascended piece of siege that you can infinitely use, which is really cool for veterans, or especially for commanders that use a lot of siege. You don't have to carry all that stuff every time anymore. And it will also be some nice gold to go for in World vs. World. I think that's a cool thing. Let's see how it affects the siege market, especially also with the changes that you can now transfer siege into another siege type. Really interesting. So I would say this patch is this World vs. World changes are not crazy big and not crazy a lot of them, but I think it's some really cool ideas, and it might change the gameplay quite a lot, even if it's just a little bit of small changes. But I think it's good, and I think it's really nice that they do something like this. Not only that they change World vs. World rather regularly now, but it's also, I would say, a lot of changes that go in the right direction. Especially this one is for new players really good. You know, they don't get overwhelmed by the convoluted system of siege, which is not really necessary because most of the time you use the same siege all the time. So now you have just one siege thing for every single type. And I also think it's really nice that they do a live stream about it. It was not the longest live stream, I think it was 30 minutes or so, but it's good that they talk to the community, and a special shout out to the 2 guys that were giving and presenting this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like. If you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.